This week, I did something slightly obsessive. I pulled 100 real Claude Code setups off public GitHub, every Claude.md, every settings file, every MCP config, and I put each one under a microscope. There are over 425,000 of these files sitting in public repos right now. So this is not a small sample problem. Here is what I found. 52 of the 100 are running on pure, untouched factory boilerplate. 16 have config files so bloated that Claude literally starts ignoring them. And one number in this data came back as a flat zero. Out of 100 setups, the number of people protected against the single most dangerous mistake you can make with a coding agent is 0. I will show you exactly what that means in a few minutes, including the guy whose entire Mac got wiped because of it. The same 7 mistakes kept showing up in this data over and over, like a disease pattern. If you use Claude Code, at least 3 of them are in your setup right now. So, I am going to show you all 7. The real damage each one does, and the exact fix for each, verified against the official docs this week. One of these screens is yours. Let's find out which one. Quick word on how I actually did this, because the method is the difference between an opinion and a diagnosis. GitHub lets you search every public repository on Earth, and I searched for repos with a Claude.md file at the root. That is the main config file Claude Code reads. I sampled 100 of them and ran a script that graded every setup against the same checklist. How long is the config file? Is it customized or factory boilerplate? Is there a permissions file? Are there deny rules? How many MCP servers? Real files from real people, all graded by the same rules. That gives me numbers nobody making these listicle videos has, because nobody else looked. And here is the part I love. Anthropic's own best practices page has a section called Avoid Common Failure Patterns. The official docs already admit where people crash this thing. My audit just measures how many people are actually living those failures. Spoiler, it is most of them. One more thing. Every fix in this video was checked against the official docs this same week. That matters because some of the advice in popular Claude Code tutorials is now flat out wrong. And near the end, I will show you 5 examples that might sting a little. Okay, mistake number 1. Mistake 1, the Amnesia setup. Here is the symptom. Every single session, you type the same sentences. We use P npm here, not npm. The API lives in the server folder. Stop writing class components. You explain your project in the morning, and by the afternoon session, it has all evaporated. Because Claude Code starts every conversation with a blank memory. The Claude.md file exists to be the memory that survives. And this is where my audit got depressing. 52 of the 100 setups ran the init command once on day 1 and never touched the file again. It is a generated summary of the folder structure and nothing else. Nothing about how the humans actually work. So here is the 10-minute fix. Run/init if you never have. Claude scans your code base and drafts the file for you. And it even pulls in rules from an existing agent's file or cursor rules. Then, and this is the part, 52% of people skip, edit it. Add the 3 things the docs say actually matter. Your real build and test commands, your code style rules, and the 2 or 3 architecture facts Claude keeps getting wrong. The official test for every line you add is brutal and perfect. Would removing this line cause Claude to make a mistake? If not, cut it. Mistake 2 is the opposite disease, the novel. Somewhere around week 3, a beginner discovers this file is powerful and starts stuffing everything into it. Coding philosophy, 50 commandments, an entire pasted style guide. The biggest file in my audit was 1006 lines long. 1000 lines loaded into every conversation forever. And here is the cruel joke. More instructions make Claude follow them less. This is straight from the official docs. Keep the file under 200 lines because longer files consume more context and reduce adherence. In plain English, a bloated Claude.md means Claude starts ignoring your actual instructions and you pay tokens for the privilege. Even the creator of Claude Code, Boris Cherny, says the most common mistake he sees is people over engineering their configuration. In my 100 setups, 16 were bloated past the line where the docs say adherence drops, and another 11 were so empty they did nothing at all. 2 failure modes, 1 fix. Keep the main file tight. Push details out. There is an at import syntax that pulls other files in only when needed, and a rules folder where instructions can be scoped to specific paths. So your database rules only load when Claude actually touches database code. The median across my audit was 90 lines. The sweet spot is real, and it is smaller than you think. Mistake 3. The chatbot habit. This one does not show up in any config file. It shows up in your fingers. Most beginners type into Claude Code the way they type into a chatbot. One vague sentence. Make the dashboard better. Add Ayuth. Fix the bug. Then Claude sprints off, edits 11 files in a direction you never wanted, and you spend an hour undoing it. Here is the mental switch. You are not chatting. You are delegating. And nobody delegates a project with 3 words. Claude Code has a whole mode built for this. Plan mode. Press Shift Tab or type/plan, and Claude goes read only. It explores your code, asks questions, and writes an actual plan of attack. And it cannot touch a single file until you approve. You review the plan, fix the misunderstandings while they are still free. Then let it execute. And if you think plan mode is training wheels, Boris Cherny, the man who created Claude Code, has said most of his own sessions start in plan mode. The guy who built the tool plans first. The official workflow is 4 words: explore, plan, implement, commit. And the docs give you a beautifully simple rule for when to bother. If you can describe the change in 1 sentence, skip the plan. Everything bigger. Plan first. This single habit separates the people who call Claude Code magic from the people who say it wrecked their code base. Quick pause, because the next mistake is the one with the 0, the scariest number in my whole audit, and a wiped Mac to prove it. Most of you watching are not subscribed, and I run audits like this with real receipts every single week. Subscribing takes 1 second. Do that and let us talk about the 0. Mistake 4. The yes machine. Claude Code asks permission before it runs commands or edits files. Beginners handle this in one of 2 terrible ways. Way 1, they sit there slamming allow, allow, allow 200 times a day until the brain switches off and they approve something they really needed to read. Way 2, they get sick of way 1. Find the flag called dangerously skip permissions and turn every safety off on day 3. The docs are blunt about that flag. It offers no protection against prompt injection or unintended actions, and it belongs in isolated environments like containers, not on your laptop next to your .env files. And this is not hypothetical. In December, a post hit the Claude AI subreddit and collected almost 2,000 upvotes. Quote, Claude CLI deleted my entire home directory, wiped my whole Mac. The user asked Claude to clean up packages in an old repo. The cleanup command Claude generated ended with a slash after a tilde. 1 character. That is the entire home directory. Desktop, documents, keychain, gone. Docker later wrote the whole thing up as a case study in coding agent horror stories. Now, the 0. Claude Code lets you write 3 permission lists: allow, ask, and deny. Safe commands run instantly. Scary commands always ask. And deny rules block things outright, like reading your secrets file. And a deny beats everything else. Out of 100 real setups, the number with a deny list was 0. Not few. Zero. 98 had no permissions file at all. The fix takes 10 minutes. Allow your everyday commands so the prompts stop wearing you down. Then write 3 deny rules, your env files, force pushes, production deploys. You kill the fatigue and you put a hard floor under the worst day. Mistake 5, the Hoarder. This one is sponsored by every listicle on the internet. 10 MCP servers you need, 15 tools that will change your life. And beginners install all of them. Wire Claude into browsers, databases, design tools, note apps, and then wonder why everything feels slow and cluttered. Let me give you real numbers instead of vibes. One developer measured his setup with everything switched on and found the tool definitions alone were eating 82,000 tokens. 41% of his entire context window gone before he typed a single word. Now, fair is fair. 2026 fixed part of this. Tool definitions load on demand now, and one documented setup dropped from 1,000 tokens down to 8,500. But 3 costs never went away. Every extra tool is one more thing Claude has to choose between, one more thing that can break, and one more door into your machine. I ran this exact experiment on this channel recently. Installed the 15 most recommended MCP servers and gave each one a real task. 9 of the 15 got uninstalled the same day. Dead repos, paywalled keys, tools that duplicate what Claude Code already does. Even the official cost guidance says prefer command line tools when they exist because they are cheaper than MCP. So the fix is a rule, not a list. Start from zero. Add a server only when a real task demands it. And once a month, run /mcp and uninstall anything you have not used in 2 weeks. Your setup is not a Pokédex. You do not have to catch them all. Mistake 6. The eternal session. This is the one quietly burning the most money. Beginners open one conversation on Monday and just live in it. Fix the login bug. Now add a feature. Now write my emails. Same session. Day 4, 300 messages. Deep. 2 problems. First, cost and focus. Everything in that conversation rides along with every new request. Old errors, dead ends, that random question about dinner. You pay for all of it, every message, and the clutter actively makes the answers worse. Second, the cliff. When the window fills up, Claude Code automatically compresses your history into a summary, and summaries lose detail. One of the most upvoted Claude Code posts ever written, over 2,300 upvotes, describes hitting that compression limit mid-feature and watching Claude lose the thread, recreate files it had already built, and spiral. People swear the model got dumber, when really their 3 days of context just got zipped into a paragraph. The fix is 2 commands and 1 habit. /clear between unrelated tasks, fresh start, and the docs literally tell you to use it frequently. /compact with instructions. When you need the same session, but lighter. You can tell it exactly what to keep, like focus on the API changes. And /context, which shows you a live map of what is eating your window. So the invisible tax becomes visible. And do not fear the fresh start. Old conversations are still there under /resume. Clearing costs you nothing. Hoarding costs you every single message. And mistake 7. The one that ends weekends and occasionally code bases. Shipping blind. It looks like this. Claude writes 200 lines. The beginner skims it. Looks plausible. Accept. Next task. No test run, no build check, no commit, just vibes. One developer wrote up how he lost over $250, learning that Claude Code will sometimes claim a task is complete when it simply is not. Another engineer, in a post with over 800 upvotes, found the agent had quietly used the account creation date as a fallback for user birth dates. Demo looked perfect. Data was a lie. You only catch that by reading the diff. So, Two fixes, both straight from the docs. Fix 1 is the single most important sentence in the whole best practices guide. Give Claude a check it can run, tests, a build, a screenshot to compare. The docs call it the difference between a session you watch and a session you can walk away from. When Claude can run your tests, it stops being a text generator and becomes a worker that verifies its own output. And it catches its own bugs before you ever see them. In my audit, 42 of the 100 setups had zero build or test commands in their config. Claude cannot verify anything if you never told it how. Fix 2. Safety nets. Claude Code quietly checkpoints your code at every single prompt. Press escape twice or type /rewind, and you can roll the code, the conversation, or both back to any point. But the docs are honest about the limits. Checkpoints do not track everything, and they are not a replacement for version control. So, small commits. Every time something works. Do those two things, and the horror stories from earlier simply cannot happen to you. Before the recap, a bonus that might matter more than all 7. The tutorial you learned Claude Code from is probably lying to you by now. Not because the creator was sloppy, but because this tool changes monthly and advice fossilizes on YouTube. 5 examples, all checked against the docs this week. 1. The think harder magic words. Dead. Only Ultra Think still does anything special. Thinking is on by default now, and you toggle it with option T. 2. Starting a message with the hash symbol to save a memory. Removed. Claude writes its own memory file automatically now, and you can just ask it to remember things. 3. Custom /commands in a commands folder, merged into skills. One folder, one skill file, same result, more power, and the old folder still works. It is just legacy. 4. The claim that MCP servers eat thousands of context tokens each. Mostly fixed, like I said, tool definitions differ load now. And 5. Control R for the transcript. Control R is history search these days. The transcript moved to Control O. None of this is in the video that taught you Claude Code, because that video was made in a different era, which is exactly why every fix I gave you today came with a docs receipt on screen. When in doubt, trust the docs page, not the tutorial thumbnail. So here is what a clean setup actually looks like. The whole video, one screen. A Claude.md under 200 lines, with real commands, real style rules, and nothing Claude could have guessed on its own. Plan mode for anything you cannot describe in one sentence. A permissions file with your 3 deny rules, so the worst day has a floor. A handful of tools you actually use instead of a collection. /clear between tasks, /context when things feel heavy. And a verification loop. Tests Claude can run, plus small commits. So bad days are undoable. Here is the thing that should genuinely excite you. Every fix on this list is a one-time 10-minute change. This is not discipline you have to maintain. It is a setup you do once on a Tuesday with coffee. 1 hour of work and you are configured better than 98 of the 100 setups I audited. And plenty of those were not beginners. The gap between struggling with Claude Code and flying with it is not talent. It is 7 fixes. I packed everything into a free PDF called the Clean Setup Kit. The 7 mistakes with their exact fixes. A copy-paste Claude.md template built on the official rules. A startup permissions file with the 3 deny rules already written. The 5 pieces of outdated advice so you can unlearn them. And a 15-minute checklist that takes you from audit victim to clean setup in one sitting. Comment the word mistakes on this video and I will send it to you. And if you are starting out and want the full path instead of fragments, I wrote the beginner's guide to Claude Code, a complete structured walkthrough from install to real projects. There is also the OpenAI Codex guide, Claude for Sales, and the certification prep kit if you are going for the architect exam. All four are linked below. Then, three quick things. Subscribe here on YouTube. I run audits like this with real receipts every week, so you do not have to learn any of it the hard way. Follow Hyperautomation Labs on Instagram. And follow the Facebook page, where the experiments land between videos. Quick tip, this video plays great at 1.25 speed. Comment mistakes, grab the kit, and fix your setup this afternoon. I will see you in the next one.